Hey y'all, welcome back and welcome if you're new. My name is Sam and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making some shrimp and broccoli because it just sounded so good. And if you've been here a while, you know we love Asian food of all kinds. It's so good. And this one is super easy. A few ingredients, but easy. I've got some cooking wine here. You can use the Shaoxing wine if you want to. I could not find any, but I always have rice cooking wine on hand, so I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to add just a little bit, probably about 1 to 2 tablespoons, not much, because I don't want it to cook my shrimp. And I'm also going to add some salt, pepper, and some cornstarch to my shrimp here. It has been a rainy few days, and I'm already ready for summer weather. It has been cold and rainy, and I am not a cold weather person. All right, so I've got this all mixed together, and it smells delicious. So I'm just going to set this to the side, and I'm going to start preheating my pan and get the rest of my ingredients together while that is marinating. And then I'll bring you back, and we'll get this started. All right, before I preheat my pan, I've gone ahead and put some rice on to cook in the Instant Pot. We're going to go ahead and make our sauce. Super easy. I've got some chicken broth here and all of my ingredients. I've got some soy sauce. You can definitely use coconut aminos if you want. I've got some dark soy sauce. We have a little local Asian market here. That's where I buy all of my Asian stuff, my Asian seasonings and stuff. But you can check the bigger supermarkets. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't, but you can most definitely order it online. I've got some oyster sauce here. Some sugar, pepper. I'm using white pepper. Some cornstarch, and this is just to help thicken the sauce up so it gets nice and coated all over the shrimp and broccoli. I've got some ginger, some grated ginger, and some minced garlic. I'm just going to add all of this right in here. This smells so delicious. They told me to put this in a big bowl, but there was not enough ingredients to mess up another bowl, so I just put it in here. And then I can just set this to the side. All right, all of that cornstarch is nice and mixed. We'll give it another mix in just a bit before we add it to everything. All right, now I'm going to preheat my pan. About medium low. All right, my pan is nice and hot. I'm going to add a little bit of avocado oil to my pan. And I'm going to get my shrimp, give it another nice little toss. I'm going to add all of this into my pan in one single layer. And we're going to cook up this shrimp until they are nice and pink. It will not take long at all because shrimp take no time at all to cook. Once they get pink on one side, I'll flip them over, let them cook on the other side, and then I'll bring you back and we will add some broccoli and the sauce to this, and this is going to be so delicious. All right, you guys, I have got some broccoli here. This is just frozen thawed. I'm going to add this directly in with my shrimp. Because this is already cooked, I don't need to cook it like the directions. But I do need to heat it up. And it won't take long at all because I don't want to overcook my shrimp. All right. I've got my sauce here. I'm just going to give it another little stir. Make sure that cornstarch is all nice and dissolved. I'm going to add this directly in here so that garlic and ginger can kind of get warm and release its flavor. I'm going to grab a spoon. I'm just going to start tossing this all together so that sauce can start to thicken up and get all into the crevices of that broccoli. It's going to be so delicious. My rice is almost done. This is a quick and delicious weeknight meal that you can put together in under 20 minutes because it doesn't take long. And if you buy the frozen broccoli, you don't have to cook it, like steam it or whatever. You can just thaw it and then just throw it in here and let the pan heat it up. Super quick and delicious. All right, this is pretty much done. I'm going to cut the heat off, pop a lid on this until my rice gets done. And then before we eat, I will give this another little toss just to make sure all of these broccoli are coated in that sauce. And then I'll show you my plate. All right, you guys, here is my bowl of this delicious shrimp and broccoli. Now, if you don't like shrimp, you can substitute with some chicken, like chop up some chicken breasts or chicken thighs and cook it in place of the shrimp, and then just cook it as the directions say. But this was so good. It's so easy, so simple, budget friendly, and very filling and delicious. Good morning, everyone. It is super early this morning and I'm getting ready to make some French dip sandwiches for dinner today. I'm going to be making them in the crock pot. I've already went ahead and sprayed this with a little bit of oil just to keep it a little bit easier to clean up later. I've got a roast here. It's too early to brown this on the stove, but you can if you want to. I'm just going to throw it in just like that. And I'm going to season this up with a little bit of seasoning on both sides. So I've got some garlic powder here. I'm not going to add too much. Because we are going to be adding some French onion soup and some beef consomme. I've got some onion powder going in, and I'm also going to put in some of this Cavender's Greek seasoning. This stuff is really good. So I'm not going to add any salt and pepper to this because the soup has salt and this has salt in it. So I'm just going to skip the salt. If I need some later, I can add some. And add a little bit of thyme. And I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to do the same thing to the side. Now the recipe doesn't call to add any seasoning, but I'm adding some anyway, so you can add any other kind of seasoning that you want if you don't want to use this kind. it is okay. So I've got a can of beef consomme here, and I'm just going to open this can and just pour this in here. Okay, and I've got 2 cans of French onion soup that I'm going to add in here. So I'm just going to open both of these cans really quickly. I love these little pop top cans. They're so easy to open. So I've got 2 of these cans of soup going in. And I'm just going to give this a little mix. It smells so good. I'm so ready for dinner already. But this has got to cook low and slow. I'm going to pop the lid on this. I'm going to turn this on low, and I'm going to let this cook until dinner time. It is 7 o'clock now. So I'm just going to let this go until dinner. A good 8 to 10 hours, depending. You can do 6 to 8, or you can do 4 to 6 on high. But I'm going to cook it low and slow between 6 to 10 hours. So I'll bring you back later and we'll see how this is doing, and probably make some hand pies to go with dinner today. So I'll see you guys in just a bit. All right, you guys. So I decided to make some chocolate hand pies for dessert today. I've got my French dip meat going here in the crock pot. It smells so good. It's got a few more hours to go. And I'm going to go ahead and start on my hand pies so that way they can go ahead and bake and cool slightly. So what I've got going on here, I've got some sugar, cocoa powder, some biscuits. Now typically I do the regular, but the store did not have any, so I'm using the Grand's flaky layer. It's fine. They taste just as good. And I've got some salt. So to my bowl here, I'm going to add about a cup of sugar. Now, when it comes to the ratio of sugar to cocoa powder, you can certainly play around with it. I've seen this recipe in a magazine many years ago, and I've made it ever since, but it's so good. If I can find this exact recipe online, I'm sure there's one out there similar to it. I will leave it linked down below. If not, I'll just type it down there anyway. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Not much, maybe 1/4 teaspoon. And I'm going to start off with 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. And kind of go from there, depending on how chocolatey you want your mixture. I think I'm going to add another tablespoon of cocoa powder. Because I want it to be chocolatey, but I don't want it to be so chocolatey it's bitter. And this looks pretty good. You can add more or less to your desired, chocolatiness. It will work just fine. So I'm going to set this to the side. I'm going to put these up, and I'm going to roll out my biscuit dough, grab some flour, and I'll be right back. All right, you guys. So I've got my flour here. I'm just going to get a little bit out into my cup here. We're just going to sprinkle this on the counter. and put some on our biscuit dough here. A little bit on our rolling pin, and we're just going to roll these out as best as we can into a circle. If it looks like states, it's okay. Mine typically do. So we're just going to roll these out until they're 1/4 of an inch thick. All right, so I'm going to kind of shake off a little bit of the excess flour there. We're going to put our mixture in here. Leave a little bit of a border so that way you can close them up. I'm going to grab my butter here, and I'm going to just put 2 little pats of butter, maybe a teaspoon of butter in here, like that. And I'm going to grab a fork. I'm going to fold these over and press out as much air as I can get out. I'm going to crimp these so they stay closed. You can do an egg wash if you want to. I typically don't. You can do water. Milk will work to kind of seal them together. And then I'm just going to take this and place this on a sheet tray that I've got lined while I finish up the rest, and then I'll bring you back and I'll show you what they look like before they go in the oven. Alright, you guys, so all of my hand pies are done. I've got some milk here, and I'm just going to brush the tops of these with some milk. You can do an egg wash, you can do cream, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. I'm just going to brush the tops of these. Now you can also sprinkle the tops of these with some sugar if you want it to have like a little crunchy top to it. Or you can wait until they're done and then sprinkle the top with some powdered sugar. Or you can just leave them plain as is. Whatever you want to do. Now, once you get all these kind of brushed down with some milk or egg wash, you're going to put these in the oven at 375. About 15 to 20 minutes, just depending on how high your oven cooks, really, until they're nice and golden brown. And then you're going to remove them and let them cool until they're slightly warm. Because if you eat them when they're right out of the oven, that sugar is really, really hot and it will definitely burn your tongue. So just be careful. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish all of these up, put these in the oven, let them bake, and then I'll show you what they look like when they are done. Alright, you guys, here are the hand pies. Just took them out of the oven. I'm going to let them sit here and cool. They're very, very hot right now. Once they cool, I'm going to put them on a plate or in a bowl so I can store them. And then I will show you the inside as soon as they cool down. Alright, you guys, here is my plate. Now all I did was I shredded the beef, put the beef on a bun, topped it with some cheese. You can do any kind of cheese that you want. I did mozzarella because I didn't really have any provolone, not enough to do sandwiches, so I just opted for mozzarella. Put that on there, popped it under the broiler until the cheese melted. So good. Added some au jus to a bowl. I cooked up some homemade french fries. And then for dessert, I had the chocolate hand pie. So delicious. highly recommend trying these. All right, you guys, today I just felt like going the easy route. I'm going to be making some old-fashioned hamburger hash. This is something that my mom made all the time. I could not find my mother's recipe. I must have overlooked it somewhere in my recipe book, but I found one on Pinterest that I'm going to try today. I love hamburger hash, something that my mom made a lot growing up. And it's really easy and so simple and delicious. You're gonna love this. I've got some potatoes boiling right over there for me to cook up in just a bit after I cook up this ground beef. To my ground beef, this is just a pound. You can do ground turkey or whatever else you want to use. It works just fine. I've used it all. I'm going to season this up with a little bit of salt and pepper. Kind of mix this all together. Turn my heat up just a little bit. I've got it on about medium low. We're just going to let this cook up. This is one of those quick meals that are really easy to make, and the whole family enjoys it. It's really good. I'm going to add just a tiny touch of avocado oil because this is pretty lean beef. But if you have a fattier beef, don't add the oil. And it's going to get drained later anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I am going to go ahead and finish cooking this up while the potatoes are cooking. They are almost done, and then I'll bring you back in just a second when we finish this up. All right, so my potatoes are done. They've been cooking for about 7 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and drain them. I'm going to add a little bit more oil to my pan just to cook my potatoes so they don't stick too bad to the pan. Just a couple of tablespoons will work just fine. I'm just going to add these right in here. Kind of spread them out a little bit. And I'm going to add some onion into my potatoes here. And we're going to cook all of this up together. We're going to add some salt, season to taste, some pepper, and I'm going to add some Italian seasoning, probably about half of a teaspoon to a teaspoon. That's probably what I've got left in there, so I'm just going to add all of that in there. And I'm going to kind of mix this together, get it nice and coated in that salt and pepper and Italian seasoning. And we're going to let these potatoes cook up. I'm going to turn my heat up some to about medium high, or low medium. And we're just going to let these hang out for just a couple of minutes. And once they get nice and crispy brown on this side, I'll come in and give them a stir. And then I will do that until they are all completely crispy and golden and just smelling delicious. And then I'll bring you back and we will add some garlic and the hamburger meat, or the ground beef. I don't know why I want to call it hamburger meat, but the ground beef and some cheese. And then this should be done. So I'm going to go ahead and cook this up and I'll bring you back. All right, you guys, so these potatoes are nice and tender and they're golden brown. Most of them are anyway, but I've got some garlic here. I'm just going to add this right in here. And I'm going to mix this together. until that garlic gets nice and fragrant. Shouldn't take long at all. There it is. I smell it. You can definitely smell the garlic as soon as it hits the pan and it starts to heat up. Best smell ever. So that's in there. I'm going to go ahead and add my ground beef back in. My mom's recipe uses rosemary and it's so good, but I could not find it at all in my recipe book. So I hope I didn't lose it, but it's so good. If I find it, I will type it out and put it on my blog, and you can try that. But this one seems like it's going to be delicious. All right, so I'm going to turn my heat down. And now that ground beef is warmed through, I'm going to add some cheddar cheese. Now I've got white cheddar cheese, but you can use the other kind if you want. It's just what the grocery store had when I got cheese with the white cheddar cheese. It tastes delicious. So I'm going to turn this on low, and I'm going to mix this together until this cheese is nice and melted. And then taste it for seasoning and add more if I need to. I was scanning through Pinterest last night, and I got the idea to go ahead and to make some candies for Christmas. There's a couple of new ones that I want to try, so I've got to go and get the ingredients for that. I've got to clean my father-in-law's house tomorrow, so while I'm out, I will pick up the ingredients, and then in next week's video, I will more than likely do Christmas candy. I am so excited. That is one of my most favorite things to do around the holidays is Christmas candy, because I love giving them away as gifts to like family members and neighbors and everything. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you want some candy ideas, candies and cookies and all of that, stay tuned to next week's video, because that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. And this smells so good. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and this is ready to go. So I'm just going to cook up some green beans. I'm going to put a lid on this, cook up some green beans, and then I'll bring you back and show you my plate.
All right, you guys, here is my plate. This hamburger hash was so good. Highly recommend adding in your own seasoning and spices. It really bumps up the flavor on this one. I wish I could find my mom. I've got it packed away somewhere, so as soon as I find it, I will upload that for you guys, but this one will be linked down in the description box. And I also cooked up some sugar snap peas. I had some in the fridge that really needed to be used up, so I just pan fried those with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, a couple other seasoning, and then I just made some garlic bread to go along with it. And this was so good. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.